Fifth grade Excel, lesson 78. Determining the improper fraction with the greatest or least value in a set of fractions, putting fractions in order from least to greatest and greatest to least. When comparing fractions involving improper fractions, change the improper fractions to mixed or whole numbers before comparing them. Which fraction in the set has the greatest value? So the problems that we're looking at to determine that, let me see, I'll go with red here. Oh, that's not red, that's black. Come on. So these fractions right here. So you look at each fraction and you have to decide, is this first fraction an improper fraction? Does it have the number on the top, the numerator, as being the same size or larger than the denominator? And in this case, 1/3 is just 1/3. It's not an improper fraction. But the next fraction, 7/7, that we can change into a whole number or a mixed number. And you can see they did that right here. They changed 7/7 into the whole number 1. And then 8/4, well, that's an improper fraction. 8 divided by 4 is equal to 2, and that's equal to 2 wholes. 1/6 is not an improper fraction. It's just a plain old fraction. And it's a proper fraction, and so we leave 1/6 as 1/6. And then 3/2, 3/2, that is an improper fraction. And so we have to do 3 divided by 2, and 3 divided by 2 is 1, remainder 1. So the answer is 1 1/2. And of course, we've learned how to change these improper fractions into mixed numbers and whole numbers in another lesson. So you can see what they've done is they've shown their work over here by changing each one of the improper fractions into a whole number or a mixed number. Now, once we get the fractions like this, we can compare them. The smallest fraction is 1/6, and 1/6 is smaller than 1/3 because it's, if you take a pizza and you cut it into 6 pieces and you eat one of those 6 pieces, it's a much smaller piece than if you cut the pizza into 3 pieces and eat one of those pieces. So 1/6 is smaller than 1/3. 1 would be the next biggest number, and so that means 7/7 is the next biggest fraction. And the reason that that's the next biggest is because 1 is larger than either one of these other two fractions. Both of those fractions are less than 1. It's one piece out of many of the whole. 1 1/2 is greater than 1 because a half, you have a half more than 1. And then 2 is the greatest. And these correspond to certain fractions up here. So we're not saying that the order of the fractions is 1/6, 1/3, 1, 1/2, and 2. The order of the fractions would actually be 1/6, 1/3, 7/7, 3/2, and 8/4. So the whole number 2 is greater than any of these other numbers in the set. So your choice for the greatest fraction in the set would be 8/4. And a lot of times what they ask you to do when you find the greatest fraction is circle the denominator of the greatest fraction. All right, let's go on to the next page or the next part here. If you have been asked to select the fraction in the set with the least value, which one would you have chosen? So again, same exact problem. They show you what they're each equivalent to right here. And so the least fraction, the smallest fraction in the bunch, would be 1/6, and so you'd pick the 6. All right, pretty simple there. Now we're going to try some actual problems that you're going to, just like what you're going to see on your daily work. The directions say put the fractions in order from least to greatest, then circle the denominator of the fraction in each set with the, for the first one, least value. And so here's how you show your work. You do not need to put these little arrows, but you do need to show what the fraction is equal to if it's not equal to the fraction that's shown right here in the problem. So 9/8, that's an improper fraction. 9 divided by 8 is 1, remainder 1. And so 9/8 is 1 1/8. 3/5 is a proper fraction, so we don't need to change that one at all. Notice there's no show work down here, and that's because 3/5 is just left alone. 1/1 is equal to 1, because 1 divided by 1 is 1. 5/4, 5 divided by 4 is 1, remainder 1, so you keep the same denominator, and you have 1 1/4 for 5/4. Now, which one's the least? Well, all of these, 1, 2, 3 fractions are equal to 1 or greater. But this fraction right here is equal to less than 1. It's part of a whole. And so they circle the 5 as the denominator of the fraction with the least value. Then down here at the bottom, they ordered the fractions in order from least to greatest. Notice that they did not put 3/5 and then put 1, and then put 1 1/8, and then put 1 1/4. What they did was write the actual fractions down here in order of least to greatest. So the smallest is obviously 3/5 because that's less than 1. 1 1s is equal to 1 whole. That's the next biggest. And then we have 1 1/8 and 1 1/4. Now, why is this one here, 1 1/8, and 1 1/4 there? What we're saying is, let me draw a picture of that. 1 1/8 would look like this. Here's 1 whole, and then we'll divide this up into eighths, and you have an eighth right there. That's 1 1/8. That's what 9/8 is. And then 5/4 is equal to 1 1/4. Here's 1. Split this into fourths and 1/4. So you can see that this has more stuff than this does. This piece right here is smaller than this piece right here. And so that makes that fraction smaller than the other. So that's why we put this one first in order of least to greatest. All right, what you're going to do on 2 and 3 is I want you to order the fractions from least to greatest down here. Remember to write the actual fraction down there. And then I want you to circle the denominator in this one with the greatest value and this one with the least value. But I also want you to show your work down here below on any fractions that are improper fractions. You need to convert those to mixed numbers or whole numbers first before, that's the very first thing you're going to do. Do this first, then write them down here below, and then choose the denominator of the fraction that has the least value. I'm going to erase that. Go ahead and pause the video. Start it up when you're ready to see the solutions. Okay, number 2. Again, first thing you do is you need to convert each one of the improper fractions to a mixed number or whole number. 7 divided by 7 is equal to 1. 3 divided by 2, that is an improper fraction. That is equal to 1. 2 goes into 3 one time with a remainder of 1. And you keep the same denominator. 6/3 is improper. That's 6 divided by 3. 3 goes into 6 2 whole times. 5/6 is a proper fraction. You do not do 5 divided by 6 or 6 divided by 5. It's just 5/6. You don't need to write that again right down here. Now we want to go least to greatest. Well, all 3 of these are equal to a number that's 1 or greater. This is the only one right here that's less than 1. So 5/6 is the smallest fraction. Now between these 3, the number 1 is the smallest. And so what we're going to do is not write 1, but write 7/7, what the actual fraction is. Now between 1 1/2 and 2, the smaller fraction is 1 1/2. So we're going to write 3/2. And then 6/3 goes here as the largest because that's equal to 2. Okay, which fraction is the smallest? Or I'm sorry, we're looking for the greatest here. Here's the greatest one, 6/3. So you circle the 3 in 6/3. Now in this next one we're looking for the least value, but first we need to convert all the improper fractions. 12/9, 9 goes into 12 one time, and there's a leftover, a remainder of 3/9, or 1 1/3, but we can write it as 1 3/9. 4/5 is not an improper fraction, so you leave it just like it is. 7/1, that's equal to 7 divided by 1. There's 7 ones in 7. And then 8/4 is equal to 2, because 8 divided by 4 is 2. Now we need to put the fractions down here on the bottom in order from least to greatest. 4/5 is the only fraction that's equal to less than 1. And the next one, the next smallest, would be 1 3/9. So I write 12/9 right here. And then out of 7 and 2, 2 is the smaller one. So I write 8/4. And then the greatest would be 7/1. We are looking for the least value, and that would be 4/5. And so I circle the 5 4/5. Thanks for watching.